Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle TV's presentation, Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. I am Dr. Moby, and today we have excellent guest, well experienced in business field. Let's welcome David Wright. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me, Dr. Moby. It's a privilege.
Thank you for coming. And here is his CV or bio here. And we'll learn more from him directly, actually. So tell us about yourself, Mr. David Wright.
Yeah, happy to. So I'm Executive Director of Practice Development here at M&O Marketing. And my position is there's really four pillars I like to think of as my position. First, I have to be a product expert. I'm a product wholesaler on a national scale. So that means that I need to know where our products fit within a financial plan and the benefits to both the end user and the advisor of, why we would put this into the portfolio mix. Second is I'm a marketing consultant. So, that involves a lot of business strategy and branding conversations and targeting key demographics. And then I'm also a bit of a management consultant. So I work with high growth practices that are really looking to scale their operation going forward. So I help them to do that with operations management and through the hiring process and what it looks like having the right people in the right positions in their office. And the fourth is almost like a talent manager. I would equate it to sort of like a sports agent or a talent manager in the entertainment industry where, I really have to find the right advisors to pair our organization with and help them, cultivate their market, figure out what's unique about their process, and then look at actually growing their business.
Okay, great. So let me ask you about, I think you have mentioned about marketing process. So
Sure.
if you want to give us a little bit insight on that.
Yeah, so really it starts with, putting yourself in the consumer's seat and really identifying who is my ideal client and, what is it that I can do for them and what sets me apart from the rest of the competitors in my area. So once we figure out who that target client is, then we can work on what's the actual medium that we're going to reach out to these people. What's the content look like? What's the client experience going to look like from A to Z? So that's really how we approach the marketing process. It's all based on principles, but it is unique to the financial services industry at the same time.
Okay, so that's very important. So tell us also about, today's world, which is COVID world. What has changed?
That's a great question, Dr. Moby. Pandemic has affected all industries across the world, but it has had a significant challenge for financial services because we're operating in a space where it's always traditionally been a face-to-face business.
Yeah.
And with all of the restrictions and lockdowns and guidelines that people have been following, it's been really hard for advisors to connect with, potential new clients and also to connect and engage with their current clients, their existing book of business. So we had to really quickly, as a marketing company, pivot and make adjustments to how we're going to approach the marketplace going forward. We're in a relationship business when you're dealing with people's life savings. So it's really hard. How do you connect with someone and build that rapport and really establish a relationship when you can't meet with them face to face?
Yeah.
And, we used a lot of the same mediums that a lot of industries started to incorporate, like Zoom and the GoToMeeting. And where traditional live events have always been a major marketing channel in our industry, we had to, really adjust from the traditional, hey, we're going to do a live event for prospective client acquisition, to what's that look like taking that event process virtual.
And so the virtual, you think with the digital marketing, you have helped the clients with that, those who are comfortable or not comfortable?
Absolutely. And the technology, I mean, I think that's something that's going to permanently live in our space.
Mhm.
However, you can't beat a face-to-face connection. And when you're dealing with someone's, life savings, they really want to have that face-to-face connection. So I
Mhm.
see the technology as an extension of the advisor's practice, and using that maybe as an initial touch or as educational tool to help educate clients on an ongoing basis, just on the basics of financial planning, or the distribution phase of their life, or some of the different market risks that are out there. Um, so it's great as the educational tool. It's great as that first point of contact when you're reaching out to prospective clients. And it's also great for things like annual reviews. When you're doing a review with a current client and you're going through what their performance has been, where we need to reallocate, some of the challenges that we might have going forward. When you're having those discussions, you can do those virtually now. And I
Mhm.
think that's huge for the consumer because it's a convenience for them, but it's also really big for the advisor because it allows them to
Mhm.
manage their time more effectively.
Mhm. Mhm. And that is important. I think there is also a pivot with, of course, COVID. Things have more virtual, and it is sad that before COVID, these technologies were there, but somehow, people were hesitant to give their proper place. I wish we had done before, so we didn't have to reinvent everything so quickly with COVID, right?
Sure. Financial services is one of those industries where it seems like it's always 10 years behind, say like retail or
Mhm.
um, one of those industries, for instance. So in terms of adopting technology, it's almost a silver lining that something like this happened because it did throw our industry into that position where you really do need to adapt in order to grow and to
Mhm.
continue doing ongoing business.
Mhm.
So obviously it's a pandemic, it's a tragedy, but I think that it will have some great effects going forward as far as the evolution of the way that the marketplace conducts different business.
Okay. And so I was also reading now your some of the products here. You have the sales support, and then you have back office and administrative support. And so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we do is we work with independent financial professionals,
Hmm.
and we are an insurance broker.
Hmm.
So, for independent financial advisors who want to incorporate insurance planning or any kind of annuity planning, any fixed or guaranteed products into their clients' plans, they have to go through a brokerage like ours in order to contract with the multitude of carriers in our industry to have access to all of the competitive products and to be able to offer, any product that's available in the marketplace. So part of our position is really being their back office support. So we help them understand the products, understand where they fit in the plan. We also help them with processing their new business, which we've completely streamlined using technology. We help them interact with and engage with their clients. We help them, identify which particular product is going to fit in that particular plan because every client is unique. Every situation is unique. So we have to tailor that product offering to that particular client, whether that means, hey, we're just looking to reduce the beta of our portfolio and
Hmm.
we want to take a little market risk off of the table. So we want to create a more moderate portfolio. Let's look at a conservative, principal protected product in order to do that, where we can still get some market growth. Or if it's, hey, we really want to create our own pension going forward, what's that look like? How can we, what's our lifetime income look like? And how can we give ourselves some certainty within that income plan?
Mhm.
Or maybe it's just we want to protect a legacy, right? We want to leave money behind for the next generation. What's the best product in order to help us do that? So
Mhm.
we have experts on staff here. That's all they do all day long is run quotes and illustrations and software for our advisors in the field to then present to their clients. And we help them understand why this is the best choice for the end user to accomplish that goal that they're really looking to do with the financial plan.
Okay, great. And so also tell us a little bit about some of the products. I think you mentioned about life insurance and long-term care, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually started as a long-term care brokerage back in 1976. So we've been around for nearly 5 decades now. We're actually the longest standing marketing organization in our industry. So we do offer long-term care products. We offer different life insurance products. And then also fixed indexed annuities is really our main line of business.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the different products that we offer. But within that, we have 50 different carrier partners that are available for our advisors to choose from, which really gives them a competitive advantage to say, hey, I have access to everything in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
So I can find what's best for you.
Great. Also, tell me why business should have these life insurance and annuities.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, there's many different purposes for the different products. And the advisors really it's their job to say, hey, this is what my client needs, and this is why I'm making the recommendation, and this is how I arrived at the recommendation. But for annuities, a lot of times people will use those just to, take some risk away from their portfolio because they're typically safe money products. Fixed annuities are principal protected, meaning that you can't lose your initial investment in that product. So if you want to take, let's say the market's doing really well and you want to take some of your profits off of the table so that they're not still subject to market risk, you could put those into an annuity that's going to be principal protected, and you'll still get some sort of rate of return on that money. You can also use it to create your own pension, where you just give them the carrier a lump sum of money, and then they pay you out a check guaranteed for the rest of your life. There's also other features and benefits like long-term care aspects that you can get with annuities. There's different riders. So it really just depends on that particular client's goals. And then with life insurance, that's used a lot just to create a legacy for the next generation. It's also used for, creating a tax-free income bucket in retirement. If you, max fund in, let's say, an IUL policy, for instance, you're able to take policy loans from that later on in your years and use that as a tax-free income bucket. And then long-term care, one of the biggest concerns in our country is the rising cost of healthcare. And long-term care policies can really help with covering some of those costs so that you're not taking that out of your retirement income.
So, so these are meant for long-term care. So this is any employee can use in the business, or it has to be certain employees.
So typically the way the long-term care products will work is, you give us X amount of dollars, and then we give you a multiple of that in long-term care benefit to cover at a care facility or for at-home care. Let's say you can't perform 2 of 6 ADLs. Then a lot of times that will trigger that payout of that benefit. And really our job is to help the advisors understand, hey, is this product, right for this plan, or my client has X concern, what's the best product that's going to meet that concern? And beyond that, what we really help with is their marketing, helping them to grow their business. There's a lot of sales coaching involved. There's a lot of success tips, just developing successful habits, that's where more of the talent management aspect comes into it. So a lot of times I'm addressing the concerns that the advisors face on a day-to-day basis. Hey, I was asked this question in this appointment. I really didn't know how to respond. Or, I was getting pushback here and I wasn't sure how I should respond, or what's the best way to segment my time, time management.
Okay, yeah. Now, long-term care is very important, and as you know, most of our population is getting older and
Absolutely.
needs, some kind of care, whether it's in-home care or is it. So, when you work with, is it certain facilities you work with, or is it pretty much you go by the zip code and see what are the participating facilities there?
No, so we don't work with any of the facilities ourselves. It's the insurance carriers that issue those policies, and then within the policy, it dictates, what types of facilities are covered by that benefit, or if it's at home care. Every policy from every different carrier is going to be different.
Mhm. So, what are the things, some of things you think are covered or not covered?
Usually it's at home care. If you can't perform 2 680Ls, that's a very common one.
Okay. And they will give the reimbursement for the expenses, or would they pay some part of the expense for the difference?
Yeah, so sometimes it is a reimbursement. Other times it's just directly paying a check to, that care facility.
For the care for the, okay. Also, I'd like to know from your perspective, where is right now, regarding COVID, where do you see the businesses are really down and where the
Sure.
businesses are kind of really little resistant to the effect?
Yeah, so over 2020, the annuity industry as a whole was down in terms of sales.
Yeah.
However, I have seen since the country's starting to reopen a little bit again, and people are, able to meet, whether that's with restrictions or without restrictions, it's dependent upon the state. But business has started to come back. I think that's partially due to being able to have those in-person meetings. Live events are starting to come back, which is traditionally a huge marketing channel in our industry as far as for customer acquisition. And we are using that technology more so as an extension. So again, we came with that challenge, it did breed innovation. So a lot of advisors are starting to use that technology as an extension of themselves to continuously educate their current client base, and then also just interact with them for things where, it just doesn't make sense for you to take that commute to come into the office to sit down with us to have that conversation if it's something that can be done, in a medium like this virtually.
Mhm. Okay, great. So, in certain parts of US, you see some more growth, like Midwest, Northeast, or is it all same?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually have seen different regions of the country experience different growth, depending upon their particular states. But I would say the South in particular, businesses has seemed to, have a recovery at this point in time. The South, really the Midwest as well. The areas where it's still been a struggle has pretty much been the coastal U.S., so the East Coast and the West Coast. But within those middle states and then the southern states, we've started to see business pretty much return to the norm.
Okay, great. So that's great news that certain areas are a little better on recovery, but then the other areas probably still struggling from it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And do you think was there a, I mean, I know hindsight would is always 2020. So do you think it is possible that we can, of course, survive and do certain things which will help us, or maybe we should have done different?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can play Monday quarterback, right? But
Yeah,
I mean, it's easy to say that these tools were here for us to use all along, so why weren't we using them?
yeah,
But adapting to a challenge versus permanently adopting something new in your practice is really a difficult thing to do, even for doctors and physicians.
hmm,
New technology comes out all of the time, but if you're used to doing your particular process in a certain way, it becomes a challenge to take on that new change, right?
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. Well, thank you for coming to our show. Give us any final thoughts you have.
Yeah, so I would just say, if there's any advisors out there who may have an interest in learning more about M&O marketing, you can go to our website, M&O Marketing. We were actually named IMO of the Year for 2020 by Insurance News Net. So that's always a great honor, but even more so in the most challenging year in our industry. And also, you can find me on all of the social channels. On LinkedIn, I'm David Wright, WMS. On Facebook, I'm David Wright of M&O Marketing. On Instagram, you can find me at Team David Mo Marketing. And I will be hosting a IMO of the Year webinar just to educate advisors a little bit more about the services and the marketing and different value that we can add to their practice. So if you have an interest in just attending that webinar, go ahead and reach out to me. My email is david.wright, and that is WRIGHT, just like the baseball player,
Mhm.
at mandomarketing.com. And then my office line is 248-784-1213. And I'm always happy to have a conversation with you about where your practice is today and what it could look like going forward. And, Dr. Moby, I know you're really big on goal setting yourself and helping others achieve their goals. So that's really what I do as a profession.
Okay, well, thank you for coming to our show. It was a pleasure. I think business is so important for all of us to kind of survive in this difficult time and help each other. Thank you for coming to our show and keep watching. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.